Today I want to let you know about the worst and most manipulated number in real estate. It's costing buyers and sellers like you thousands and thousands of dollars. Most agents rely on this number because unfortunately the real estate industry as a whole does a very poor job training agents on professional skills like valuing property. I'll be the first to tell you our industry has earned its reputation. There's plenty of trainings on how to cold call, how to knock doors, and how to hunt for business, but surprisingly, the agents who are supposed to be fiduciaries rely on a number they don't understand, and it misleads buyers and sellers alike. I'm Justin Berry, and I'm both an appraiser and a broker here in the Kansas City area. Being an appraiser, I've been able to analyze thousands of other agents' transactions, and because of that skill set, I'm often the go-to guy when it comes to helping other agents price properties when they get stuck. And by the end of this video, I hope you'll be able to understand why price per square foot is the worst number in real estate. Now let's pretend that you have a raised ranch in a typical neighborhood in Kansas City. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, no finished basement, 2-car garage. You've definitely been in this floor plan before. Now you're going to go to sell this property and you want to know what it's worth. What should you be pricing this at? So you see that there's a ranch that sold for $368,184 per square foot. Came with a finished basement. There's another one for $368,000, but it's the same type of plan as yours, but it's wider. It's a bigger property. Sells for $368,000, and this one's $245 per square foot. Then you see another one that's pretty much the same as yours, except it has finished basement. That one's $315,000 and $210 per square foot. Then you look over here. This is kind of similar, but it's got an extra area up top, so like a 4th bedroom. That one's $330,000. But it's only $165 per square foot. Then that big house that sold on the corner, that one's at $435,000 and only $124 per square foot. What gives? Well, this is where it starts kind of falling apart and where per square foot gets really confusing. What is price per square foot? Well, price per square foot, simply put, is the sales price divided by gross living area. Gross living area is the only thing we count in the price per square foot. We're only counting the area that is above the line of the dirt. This is a house that has a walkout finished basement. A lot of times, the seller, the agent, they want to consider this to be living area because it makes the house look better, which is fine. I do that all the time myself. But when we're comparing properties, we want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples, and we're always using the same method to get that data. And that's where it really falls apart. Above grades, above the dirt line. We don't care what this does down here. This is still our dirt line. The highest point against the house is the dirt line. Even though this area might be just as nice as upstairs, it's cheaper to finish basement than it is to build house. So that's the primary reason why we separate the two out. It's not the same thing. In fact, if you finish an area, you lost basement because you used to be able to store your junk, and now you have a place to put a couch and a TV. You gave up something to get the other. It's not the same thing as if you added onto this house and kept the basement. That's why we separate them out. Now, if we were looking back at that house and it sold for $300,000 and it was a 1,000 square foot gross living area, that'd be $300 per square foot. So pretty simple math. Now, here's what happens when we take that same house and we put it on 10 acres. That same house is now $450 per square foot. Did the house cost more to build? No. Did it cost more to replace? No. But it cost $450,000 to buy it, divided by 1,000 square feet. Now let's move on to our property here on the right compared to our neighbor's property on the left. Now our property is 1,000 square foot. We've measured it using the upstairs area, and the neighbor did the same thing, $1,500. We're going to call those apples to apples. Sold for $345 versus $300. That makes sense. It's a bigger property. But the square footage is $230 per square foot, while our subject is $300 per square foot. So that's interesting, right? Well, what if we finish the basement on the subject? That raises it to $315. Hey, that makes sense. We raised the price. The square footage stayed the same. And of course, the price should go up. That totally makes sense. It is interesting that this house is more expensive and less. What happens if an agent does what most agents do and they call this property a 1,500 square foot property? Well, just drop that square footage price, that per square foot, down to $210. Now, if a buyer was looking at this property versus that property, are they thinking this property is overpriced because of that per square foot? Well, what if the property next door now had basement finish just like our property does? So a buyer looks at this and says, I don't mind this property. It's $210 per square foot, but I like this property over here better. But they're asking $250 per square foot. That's unreasonable. They're crazy. That property's overpriced. I'll buy it, but I'm not going to give you $250 per square foot. Makes sense. If you're looking at what appears to be apples to apples numbers, especially if you're looking at Zillow or Realtor.com, they don't know the difference. The computer just spits out what the agents put in. You could very well be confused. A seller could fall for that and technically technically discount their property based on faulty data. It happens all the time. What happens if both agents actually, made it a banana and they counted that basement finish and they're above grade, just like they did here? Now you've taken 2,500 square foot and you have divided that into the 375, which makes it $150 per square foot. Now, both of these properties, they both include basement finish, and with this one here is $150 per square foot. Which one appears to be the better value? Again, these are just numbers that are being manipulated. It's not accurate, okay? Let's look, if you had your house on the market and you didn't have that basement finish, you don't have a way of manipulating this because you don't have basement finish. You can't put it in to manipulate the number. What does it look like now when the neighbors just sold down the street at $150 per square foot? In your smaller house with no basement finish, you're asking $300 per square foot. You can see how, again, that's apples and bananas, but you'll see this all the time in real estate and it gets people tripped up. I have sellers that argue with me that I'm mispricing their home because they're relying on numbers that don't work. What are those numbers like? They're a lot like the BMI index. If you go see your doctor, I expect my doctor to be able to read my labs, do the blood work, put me on an EKG, whatever they need to do to give me a really good idea what my health is. I would be very disappointed if I paid a doctor to just tell me what my weight divided by my height is, right? That's what BMI is. And if you look here, you could be a 31 BMI and have two totally different outcomes. That's really no different than what price per square foot is. We've seen how it can be impacted by minor changes and incredibly impacted by comparing bananas and apples, right? This is what appraisers look at. We're going to look at contributory value. What is contributory value? It is the specific features that contribute value to the property. We start off with just land. Now, the land has a certain value. There's a contributory value of land. And then all of the stuff that goes on top of it either contributes value or it doesn't. So in this situation, there's items like a swimming pool. The swimming pool is going to contribute value more often than not. It might not be the same value that you paid for it. It might not be the same value as the cost, but it's going to probably contribute value. Would a second swimming pool contribute value? Probably not. It might even be a negative, right? But the basic rule of thumb is if you were to remove that feature from the property, if the price goes down or up, it affects the value. It contributes value one way or the other, right? Now I'm going to show you the way an appraiser looks at it. And this isn't the same house, but this is the way the grid looks on a real estate appraisal. They're looking at the total room count, the above grade bedroom count, and the above grade bathroom count. Then they're going to take the above grade gross living area. Down here, that 2034, that's the basement size. The 1126 is the basement finish size. They're saying that there's a walkout. That's what that WO is. 1 rec room, 0 bedrooms, 1 bath, and 0 other rooms. So an appraiser is going to separate all of those contributory values and they're going to adjust just for the contributory values. When you're using price per square foot, it's impossible to make those types of adjustments. And when you're making a adjustment for, say, living area, you're actually adjusting for everything, including the land, any of the amenities, because as we can see, that's what actually makes that number. One metric divided by price is not the right way to compare property, and people make tons of mistakes. I see lots of money lost and a lot of heartbreak over this. So if you're looking for a real estate agent that knows their way around property valuations like this, reach out to our team. That's what we do. All of our agents are trained the same way that I learned to do it as an appraiser, and we can help you eliminate some unneeded heartache in the real estate market. In fact, we're here to help you make smart moves in real estate. So reach out to us at 816-439-8705. Call, text, whatever's best for you. We look forward to talking to you.